What's happening, guys? I just did a workshop teaching the high margin way of generating consistent deal flow. And what do I mean by high margin? Well, when you wholesale a deal, instead of wholesaling them for 5, 10 grand, you're going to be wholesaling them for 25, 30, even 40 grand plus. And when you take on a property to flip, instead of flipping them for 25 grand, which I don't know why that's become the standard, you're going to be able to flip properties for 80, 90, 100 plus $1,000 profits. And again, even rentals, you're going to have a tremendous margin. Plus, the cash flow is going to be at least $800 to $900 plus because you're generating high margin deals. So I'm not only going to teach you how to find these high margin deals, but I'm also going to show you how to close these high margin deals. How are you going to be speaking to these sellers? How are you going to be able to negotiate such high margins? We do multiple six figures every single month. And it's just 3 of us on our team. So it's not a big team. I'm not having you do a tremendous investment or anything like that. Our marketing budget is so low. It's ridiculously low. You're talking about maybe $2,100 a month that we spend to make over 6 figures. All right. Very simple, but it's going to be very in-depth. Get your journals, shut off all the distractions, and enjoy the workshop.
This whole training comes from years of bumping around and losing a lot of money. For those of you that don't know me, I'm John Barbera. I own PRYME Homes. I've been doing this for a little over 12 years now. That's my wife, Valeria, my 3 kids. I've done flips, rentals, new builds, lost a lot of money, made a lot of money, wanted to quit a few times. The year I figured it out, the year after I figured it out, I quit real estate 17 times that year. My business partner was having PTSD at that point from me quitting. He was so scared. He was like, I don't even know what we're doing anymore. It was that stressful. I got to that point. 2020 changed a lot of things for us. And I remember it was such a frustrating time. Being in this business. There were so many things I wanted to do and like we tried to do flips, we've built new houses, we got to 15 properties in our rental portfolio and we were still broke, right? And it was something that was just aggravating, it was not going anywhere, it wasn't leading anywhere. So I read this the other day and 90% of new real estate investors fail to lose money. And I was like, I feel like that number's low. It should be a lot higher than that because I've met a lot more people that lose their money. But they do it because of this. A lack of experience, insufficient market knowledge, poor financial management. And those are the things that with time, even though I tell you I've been doing this for 12 years, it's not impressive because 8 of those years I sucked really bad at doing this. Only 4 years I really figured it out. But the first 8 were just a nightmare to be in. And the old way of doing what we do now is you will buy from wholesalers, right? People buy from wholesalers? Have you guys ever bought from wholesalers? Yeah? Good experience? Buying off the MLS. We used to have an MLS offer system that we generated. We would spit out, at one point we got to 500 offers a month that we would send out to get one deal. And yeah, that's when we just stopped. It wasn't generating anything. We did some direct mail, like we were talking. You do a little direct mail, you do some postcards, you do some letters, you do some handwritten postcards, you do some handwritten letters, you do this list, you do that list, bouncing all over, just to hope and pray that you make some money, right? And the struggle with all this is there's no consistency. There were so many times it felt like we kept going backwards in our business. It was frustrating. After 12 years, at the time, after 8 years, you're like, man, I should be further along. Then you meet some new kid on Facebook or something that they're killing it in the first month. You're like, am I an idiot? Like, what's going on? Like how are they already bought their little douchebag Corvette and I'm still, over here struggling to pay my bills. The deals were small. We were flipping houses for 25, 30 grand a month, a deal, right? They were so small, the deals that we were doing at the time. So we were doing $65,000 renovations to hopefully make 30 grand. That's a lot of risk. That's a lot of capital for very little profits, right? So it was very frustrating. We were stagnant for a while, you know. Again, that's why I lost all my hair. It probably happened to you too. You know, it's just one of those things. In 2020, that's where everything flipped around for us, because those wholesalers, MLS deals, everything went out the window, you know, and we needed to start generating our own deals because people were wholesalers. They were able to wholesale deals for a lot more than what we were willing to pay, right? Buyers were paying a lot more. They were outbidding us left and right. And it was happening all over the place. So, you know, we went back to marketing. We started pulling lists, cold calling, text message blast, RVM, ringless voicemails. Even with these, back then, those systems, they allowed you to, like, it was the Wild West, right? So we were blasting like 8,000 properties a day. Like, we were obnoxious. You know, these people had no defense against us. And we would get some deals here and there. The problem is, like, to blast 8,000 properties a day, the lists are huge that you're marketing to, right? And what do these lists even constitute of, right? It's like anything. It's a property, let's go, right? Like, there was no thought process behind all this. And what this did for us is we got very small deals. We had a lot of moments. I remember one list that worked out very well for us for a while was marketing to 65 and over. So anybody with the senior exemption, we will market to those people that had a house that was 1,500 square feet or bigger, and they've owned the house for 12 years or more. So now we got equity. There's a good chance the house is dated. It's a good chance the house is getting too big for them, right? So it was working very well until it stopped. And we didn't know why it stopped until we realized that the reason that stopped is interest rates went up. Taxes went up. I would talk to these people and I was like, hey, you want to sell your house? I would love to sell my house, but where do I go? I'm like, that's a good question. I do not have an answer for you, right? Because I'm not here to steal your home. You know, like, yeah, you could sell your house, pocket, you know, 70, 80 grand in equity, but you couldn't even afford to buy your house back, right? And I was like, what the hell do we do, right? So marketing's not working. Services kept changing. You know, we kept going from this cold calling to this text messaging to this one went out of business. This one's not responding anymore. And it was always, every time we had to switch, it was a 3-month lag. You know, from like stopping everything, switching everything over, VAs, which caused us a high overhead. At one point, we had like 12 people on our team. With them being VAs, we were cold callers, text blasters. I mean, all the systems, everything we did was getting that much more complicated to do, right? It was just, we were spending like 30, 40 grand a month to make 30 grand a month, and sometimes less, you know? So every now and then we make a little bit more, but it was not moving the needle at all. So, you know, the epiphany here is I started questioning all of these things. What list should I be pulling? Who determines what a deal is? Best marketing channels, how to run better numbers, all of these things, because I was like, I obviously don't know real estate. 8 years of being in this, I haven't learned shit because I'm still struggling, right? So I started questioning everything. And this is where we came up with the PRYME Wholesaling Method. And the ultimate goal with this method is this, is to build your ultimate acquisition machine. I'm not a fan of wholesaling. Never been a fan of wholesaling. We started wholesaling, we got out of it as quickly as we could. I hated it. I like flipping houses, I like buying rentals, I like doing those things. But the truth is, if you don't generate your own deals, you're always a victim to the market. Always a victim to the market. If wholesalers in your market are not generating good deals, which they're not right now, most wholesalers do not know how to negotiate a deal to save their lives, then you're the one that loses out. Because then you don't get good deals. How many of you see deals from wholesalers and you all say the same things? These deals suck, right? And sometimes you even speak to the wholesaler and they're making 10 grand on the deal. So it's not even like they're amazing negotiators. They suck too. So it's like the product sucks all the way from the beginning, right? So we got to have more control over these things. And the best way to do that is by creating a structured approach. something that you can follow all the time, day in and day out, to generate consistent high margin deals. What do high margin deal looks like? Last month, we closed out the month at 180. The month before that, we did 150. The month before that was also around 150. I have 3 people on my team now. I spend about $2,200 a month in marketing. That's my overhead. No, it's not bad.
That's amazing.
And here's the best part. I don't do shit anymore. I really don't. I haven't spoken to a seller in almost 2 years. Haven't seen a house in about as long. And we flip houses all the damn time. This is not a brag, guys. This is really why the system has changed us. You understand? We were hurting. We were managing the flips ourselves. We were the GC. Right now, we have 7 projects, 7 properties at title in Johnson, Cancun on a bachelor party. And I'm over here giving a convention. No, it doesn't matter. The deals have such high margins that I don't care. So instead of making 95 grand, we're going to make 82. Oh, shucks. You get what I'm saying? That's the point of high margin. When you have high margin on all your deals, your rehabs get easier. I don't need to chase these contractors and nickel and dime them when I have that much margin on a deal. I don't care the time I market when I have that much margin on a deal. We finished a flip right now that we sold about a month ago. $86,000 we made on it. We spent about $15,000 in rehab on the project. Took us 2 weeks. Put it on the market Friday. We sold it Saturday. In San Antonio, when months of inventory are over 4 or 5 months of inventory. Houses don't sell fast. Ours do. Not magic, guys. I promise you, it's not magic. And I'm going to teach you why this thing works. Try not to curse, okay? I was working on myself. I got 9 pillars that I teach on the course. I'm going to give you 2 of them today because I just don't have the time for the other ones. But I wanted to go deep on these 2 because these are the 2 that move the needle the most for us as far as getting the high margins that we're getting. The other 7 of them are going to be here. It's a PDF. It's free. Just get it, and you'll have an idea of what the model looks like. Cool? Give you a minute for that. But when you get the PDF, I break everything down, and I give you other trainings in there as well. So you'll have plenty to go off of just with that alone. Got it? What do you got, an Android? I heard people with Androids have trouble. Pillar number 6. This is the first one we're going to start with. Motivation driven. So where people make the most mistakes when it comes time to marketing to sellers, going directly to sellers, which is what I'm teaching you here, is first time they speak to a seller, what's the first thing people say? Anybody know? Hello. You're awesome. Yeah, you nailed it. But the first thing most wholesalers and investors say when they're on the phone with a seller is they start asking questions about the house. Tell me about the house, right? How messed up is your kitchen? How old is your bathroom? How jacked up are your floors? Pretty much. You say it in a nicer way, but that's what you're saying, right? You have no rapport built. You have no trust built with these people. They don't know who you are. They don't know, like, or trust you. And you're asking them questions that's putting them on the defensive. So what ends up happening is the only option you have is to hopefully give them a high enough offer that it intrigues them, right? We work backwards from there. What we do is realize that most of them just don't want to sell. Most people you contact do not want to sell their home. That's why when we do cold outreach for sellers, that we do a lot of cold calling and stuff like that, most of them, we know they're going to say no. We know they don't want to sell. But that's where the conversation starts. That's where we get the big deals. That's why we don't have too much competition. Because we're talking to people that other people give up on as soon as the person says, no, not interested. So what we do is we don't talk about the house. House means jack shit to me when I negotiate a deal. I could care less about the house. What matters to me is your motivation. I was talking to a seller, one of the last sellers I did a deal with. She wanted a house, we were just talking about the property and everything. We ran our numbers on the whole situation. And John comes back to me, he's like, we could probably pay 90 for this. I'm like, okay. I started talking to her and we started digging. What's going on? What's happening? She inherited the house. She doesn't want anything to do with the house. She is stressed out because her sisters are fighting her and all this. And I was like, what do you want? What do you need? After a while of negotiating and just not negotiating, but building rapport, she's like, man, if I could just walk away with 20 grand, I'll be happy. I bought the house for 45, all said and done. What they owed on the taxes plus what she wanted to walk away with. I could have paid 90, but she was happy with 20. That was a hell of a deal for us. You understand? Why? Because it wasn't about the house. Everybody makes it about the damn numbers. You understand? 70% minus repairs. Who gives a damn? You understand? What does the seller need? Those are the questions you got to be asking, right? So the framework to this is you got to nail the call. And I promise you, I coach a lot of people in real estate. The majority of people suck on the phones. Like really freaking bad on the phones. Because you get nervous, and what's the easy go-to? Let's talk about the house. That's the easiest thing to go to. As soon as you're talking about the house, within the first 10 minutes, you're already lost. You have no rapport built. You have nothing built with this seller to start talking about the house. You put them on the defensive, they're not going to tell you shit after that. This is why a lot of wholesalers and people, they're wholesaling for 5, 10 grand. Our average wholesale is $45,000. Our average flip is 90 grand. And we don't do we don't do big renovations anymore. The highest renovations that we'll do right now is maybe 50 on rehab, and we're making over 100 on those. Again, not to brag, we got the choice. We got the volume. We got all of that coming in. When I talk about nail the call, and I'll break it down a little further, you want to connect with them. What does a connection phase look like? Ask them about, like, let's say you're talking, give me a list. Give me a motivated seller, a list that you would market to. Foreclosure, tax delinquent. So let's do foreclosure, right? So you're talking to a foreclosure, and we changed the script on foreclosures a while ago. Before foreclosures, we used to go to them and we would be like, hey, do you want to sell your house? That was it. After the pandemic, the foreclosures came back. We're like, you want to sell your house? Go F yourself. Do you want to sell your house? Hang up. Do you want to sell your house? No, I don't want to sell. That's all we kept getting. So then I was like, why is this happening? Because they don't want to sell their house. That's why they're in foreclosure. So I was like, do you want to save your house and stop the foreclosure? They're like, why, yes, we do. Of course you do, right? You want to save your house. I'm here to help you. Now I get to ask them questions. So tell me, like, what happened? What got you here? How'd you start falling behind? Not asking about the house. I'm asking about them. How'd you start falling behind? I lost my job. Oh, my goodness. Sorry to hear that. What'd you used to do? Oh, I was working here. Wow. And how long do you do that for? Do you guys think I give a damn about the job? No. I'm trying to connect with them and show them that I'm there to help them. You understand? I'm asking them questions that's going to get them to open up to me. Because what do people like? They like to feel like they're being heard and understood. You understand? They like talking about themselves. We want to capitalize on these things. Most people don't. You're in foreclosure. How much do you owe? Bro, you just started. You're trying to close. You understand? Like, it's not going to work. I promise you this. But when you started with more of like taking an interest in them, a true interest in them, and asking them these deeper questions, and asking them like, oh man, I'm so sorry to hear that. And man, that must have been tough. What, do you have other areas that this is affected? Well, yeah, because they're in foreclosure on their home. I promise you they owe credit card bills. They're probably behind on their car payments. This is causing all kinds of stress for them. But by you asking them these questions, you're helping them see how bad the situation is instead of you interrogating them. Is this making sense? Tax delinquent, the same thing. You call somebody as tax delinquent, you want to be straightforward with them. The same with foreclosures. I don't call a tax delinquent or foreclosure person and be like, hey, you want to sell your house? And pretend like I don't know what's going on. Be like, listen, I work with the county and your property came across as you know, the county might be foreclosing on your property real soon. What happened? Can I help you? And you do the same line of questioning with somebody in tax delinquent. Does that make sense? The only time I'll ask if you're considering maybe a cash offer, have you considered any offers, is when I call like a pre-probate. You know, pre-probates, there's something that I wouldn't be so direct as saying, hey, I saw somebody died. What's going on, right? Like those are not that's not a very nice way of starting a call, right? So it's like, you wanna start a conversation a little bit more broad, right? It's like, hey, one of the ways that's worked for us with pre-probates, it's like, hey, I was just wondering if you're still accepting offers on your property on such and such. What do you mean accepting offers? Oh, is this not John? No, he's so-and-so, he died. Oh, man, I'm so sorry to hear that. Are you a relative? And you start talking about that. What happened? Was it expected? Man, I'm sorry. You know, this is terrible.
But whose number are you calling? You're calling after not John.
It's usually a family member when you skip trace it. You'll get a family member's. So, yeah, we reach out to them. Make sense?
It does, but I mean, they would have known that you're not really trying to reach John.
No, because like I see what you're saying. Yeah, but they'll tell you, they're like, this isn't John's number or something like that. Like, oh, I don't know why. Sometimes it just gives us, you know, relatives information by accident. I'm sorry to have bothered you, right? And you play it off like that. Because it is true, when you skip trace a person, like you'll get possible numbers that are associated to either the person or the property. It could be a spouse, it could be a kid, it could be a tenant, it could be anybody, right? So it's very high likelihood. But I'll be honest with you, we call a lot of pre-probates. We've never gotten anybody to be like, you should know you're not calling him. Like,
that's me overthinking.
Yeah. Oh, we tend to be pros at overthinking scenarios. So you want to ask connecting question first. You want to connect with them. Nothing about the house, nothing about them selling. Just connect with them. Get to know them. Absentee list. How many people think absentee lists are burned out? You shouldn't be marketing to them. Nobody? Everybody markets to them? Nice. Usually people, they don't do absentee lists because everybody goes after them. And that's usually why most people don't go after them. But absentee lists are actually really good to go after. We get quite a few deals out of those. And the script is very similar. It's like, you know, I'll start off with them like, hey, have you considered any cash offer on your house at such and such? No, I'm not looking to sell. Oh, okay, well, look, just real quick, you know, I'm a new landlord in the area, and I'm really interested in the area. Like, what made you want to buy this house and like keep it as a rental? When you reach out to a landlord and you start asking them for advice and questions like that, they open up like crazy. And do you think I care why they started buying there? No. I just want them to get comfortable with me. Once they get comfortable with me, I'm asking them like, and what do you like so much about your tenant? What do you like about the area? Oh, this, and this. Oh, okay. And you cash flow very well? You own it free and clear? No, I have a mortgage on it. Oh, okay. So what do you think is good cash flow? Whatever they think is good cash flow is pretty close to what they're probably cash flowing. So if I was to give you 17 years of cash flow right now, you would say no to that? That's different than me saying I'm going to give you $100,000. It's a different way of presenting an offer. Make sense? We'll get into that a little later. It's just different ways of having these conversations. Then once you connect, that you're like, hey, we're having a great conversation, you and I. We're having a good connection. You're answering my questions. It's not just no, yes, what do you want? No. When you have somebody like that and you go into motivation questions too early, they're going to start responding with, that's none of your business. Why do you care? What does that matter to you? That's because you never connected with them. They don't know, like, or trust you. If you don't get those three things, they're not going to answer your questions. If you're doing pre-foreclosures or some of the lists I'm gonna show you, I promise you, if you don't connect, you're never gonna get the big deals at all. So you ask motivation questions. Once you figure out they're motivated, they need to sell. I know they need to sell. We connected, we had a great conversation. I know they have to sell. They're in a shit situation right now. This is the only way out. You set the appointment. Or if you're doing it over the phone, you try to close them. Where people drag their feet a lot is they find the motivation and they're like, oh, okay, well, let me call you back with an offer and blah, blah, blah. Here's the problem with the callbacks. When you call them back, all the work you just put in, you lost. People get amnesia as soon as they hang up the phone. They forgot they ever spoke to you. Ask me how I know, right? Like I've screwed up a lot of deals, a lot of situations by doing the same thing. You gotta be ready to go. You gotta be ready to submit an offer. You gotta be ready. I prefer to market in my own backyard because I can set appointments. When I go in person, my close rate is very high. And people can't compete with me when I close in person. Especially anybody that's closing from, virtual closers and stuff like that, I fucking destroy them every time. It's just not even a competition. Because it's like, wait, they haven't even seen your house. They're buying it from you? Oh, their partner came over. Their partner? I'm sure it was their partner. And I create enough doubt that it doesn't make them want to go with them. You understand? So it makes it easier for me. And that's who we compete a lot against, right? VAs, now AI. I've been seeing this one guy, Pace Morby, like now he's doing a cold calling AI service. I'm like, yes, let's go. Because that guy, he has a lot of students. I'm like, all those people that get on the AI service, no more competition there. You're not going to close like I do. You understand? Like, we don't do volume. We don't do volume. We just make a lot of money on very few deals. He's getting the name of it. Look at you. So here's the roadmap to follow, right? Nail the call, crush the appointment. You got to reconnect on every appointment. Every single appointment, you show up to the appointment. A lot of people, they pick up where they left off. No, bring it back. You're at the appointment, bring it back. You have to call them back, bring it back. You got to remind them why they liked you, why they opened up to you, why they connected with you. You have to remind them those things. You do not start where you left off. It's happened to me way too many times where I show up to a house. We had a great conversation. Show up to the house, they treat me like I'm an asshole. I'm like, what the hell just happened? Like, you were just laughing with me an hour ago and now like I'm disturbing you, right? And that's because I came in ready to close. No, you start over. Yes. All those things. Yeah, everything, anything you can use. This is why the connection phase is important, because everything you connected with them on is what you use again. If you didn't connect with them and you're like, well, what do I say? Well, that's the problem. You didn't connect with them. I do, for like a lot of my students, I do call reviews. They send me a call review. I set an appointment on this one. I look at the call length, 5 minutes. I was like, you did it wrong. Did you listen to it? I don't need to. 5 minutes, you set an appointment, you did it wrong. I promise you this. Why? You didn't connect with them and you didn't find true motivation. Did you listen to it? Did you find motivation? No. I know. I've already listened to enough. 5 minutes is not enough time. 5 minutes is not enough time for you to connect with somebody, find motivation, determine if it's a deal. That's why you waste so much damn time on bad appointments. Is this making sense? So you got to make sure you're connecting with people and you're asking motivating questions. This is why when we go to appointments, right now our close rate is like, I think it was like 76% from the appointments to contracts that we get. And we close 100% of our contracts. I don't do the shit that other wholesalers do and other investors that they contract 6 to close 2. Like, I don't understand that shit. To me, I contract 6, I close 6. Reconnecting as soon as we show up to the appointment. Bringing all those things back, reminding them why they like us. Then we get a ton of pictures. Why do you get a ton of pictures? Because in case you decide to wholesale it, you already did the appointment, you took advantage of being there. You take all the valid pictures that are necessary. If it's a 1,000 square foot home, I'm taking 75 pictures minimum. Anything bigger, more pictures. Because if I decide to wholesale it, I send that link to my investors. They could tell me off that link if they're going to buy the house or not. You understand? Because I send them I don't hide anything. The HVAC unit, the manufacturer date, underneath the sinks, the roof, the cracks. When you go to the house, you're going to see exactly the same thing I showed you in the pictures. There's no surprises. Why? Because I don't want you wasting my time and I don't want to waste your time. I don't want these buyers that are like, oh, well, I need to see the house. Well, those are the pictures. Would you buy it off the pictures? I'm not asking for you to say, here's my money. I just want a yes. Because I know when you go see the house, it's going to match the pictures. So if you're a yes here, you're going to be yes there. What does that do? I have no dispo department. Like when I meet companies that have dispos and they're not even cracking 50 grand a month, I'm like, what are you doing? Why? Why are you throwing that much money away? It makes no sense. I don't need a dispo department. Make sense? Make the motivation emotional. It has to connect at an emotional level. When you are talking motivation, when you're talking all these things, it has to, they gotta feel it. The amount of sellers I've made cry, it's a good amount. And I'm like, that's a deal, let's go, right? Not to be a dick, but like they need to realize that it's important. And these deals that I get the high margins are, they're emotional deals. There are people that they're struggling, they're going through some serious shit. You understand? And if I get them to cry, they're feeling it. You know, not that I'm being an asshole trying to go around making people cry, but like you gotta make it that emotional for them. They gotta understand like the risk of not doing this is tremendous, right? So you wanna make whatever their motivation is, you wanna make it emotional. And I talk about two different types of motivation. You have pain or pleasure. Some people might be trying to avoid pain. Other people, landlords, a lot of time we use pleasure as a motivation. If I was to give you 17, 21 years of cash flow today, what would you do with that money? Had a guy, he's like, man, buy an RV and I'll head to Colorado. A lot of people is like, hey, I got his pleasure. No, not yet. You buy the RV and you head to Colorado. What RV? Oh, I would buy this one. Because people, when they say something like that, they've thought about it. What RV would you buy? I'd buy this one. Used or new? Oh, I've seen some ones for used. Oh, what price? This much. Man. And what's the room look like inside? I have them describe the whole RV experience to me. So you're in San Antonio, right? Yeah. So you leave from San Antonio. Where would you go first? Map out this whole journey he's going to take to Colorado. I do it so vividly that I see his journey. When I do it like that, I bring him back to the present, and he's like, fuck this house. I want that. And that's the responses I get, because they get that excited, right? But this is the problem with motivation on both fronts, right? What's the pain? The pain, let's say, with somebody being in foreclosure, which is funny enough. A lot of you guys are probably like, they're in foreclosure. That's the pain. No. People could be in foreclosure and they still don't think that's enough of a problem to want to solve. So we're trying to figure this out. What's the pain? Well, I don't want to lose the house and have, my credit destroyed for the next 7 years. Man, yeah, you're right. That's a big problem. And your credit being destroyed for the next 7 years. What would that do to you? Well, I wouldn't be able to get a car. I wouldn't be able, probably affect me getting a job. Oh, Jesus, yeah. If it affects you getting a job, I mean, what could you do with a credit like that? Right? Keep going deeper. Keep going deeper. Keep going deeper. At that point, it's a no-brainer why they're going to sell. And at that point, this is how you get to a point where when you make an offer, it's not about numbers. It's about what they need. We don't run numbers. I train my people, my acquisition guy, Rob. It took me a while to train the shit out of him, which is why I probably wouldn't hire another person in real estate again. But I had to train out of him, stop running numbers. We do not run numbers. It's never based on the numbers. If you're buying a house because of the numbers, you're lazy. I had to train that shit into him. This is why our wholesale fees and our flips are so high right now. Because it's never about the number, it's about the motivation. And we'll go deeper on those things too. So crush the appointment and lock it up. Have contracts with you. As stupid as this sounds, guys. Oh my God. The amount of people, the amount of my students that call me, they're like, yeah, so I had a great conversation and I made them an offer and they like it. And I was like, where's the contract? Oh, I didn't have any with me. I'm like, man, if I could just smack you through the phone, this would be so much more satisfaction. I was like, go over to an Office Depot, print out some fucking contracts, get back to the house. Why? Because, I'm going to email it to them later. I promise you they won't sign it. They're cooled off. They cooled off. They were hot and ready in that moment, and you left. Then they call their sister-in-law that's a real estate agent. What do you think? Ah, fuck. Well, you have to speak it to my sister-in-law. I'm like, yeah, you lost that one. You know? Good luck negotiating against her sister-in-law. You lose the chance. It's the same thing. You have them on the phone. They're ready. They like you. They trust you. You're in person. They like you. They trust you. It's going well. Don't leave them hanging. Close the deal. Have contracts with you. At least a basic purchase and sale agreement. In Texas, we use the TREC. You can always modify the TREC. You can always rewrite it. You can always add addendums, amendments, whatever you want to it. You understand? I've gone back where the first contract Rob ever got, he signed it himself on our company's behalf. He doesn't even have the right to do that. I'm like, bro, this contract is not valid. Why are you signing it? And, we went back with a whole new TREC contract and had them sign it. But we already got their commitment. You can't get their commitment if you don't have contracts with you. Oh, John, I don't know how to sign contracts or get contracts filled out. The majority of my contracts when I first started and you've heard this a bunch of times from John too, they were blank, just initials at the bottom and signature in the back. I did not know how to fill out a contract, but I got them to sign it. They would sign blank contracts. Then I would take it back to John and I'd be like, yo, here are the terms. I don't know where they go. And he'll fill out the contract. I'm not recommending you guys do that. What I'm saying is that when you solve the problem the right way, the contract doesn't matter. When people get caught up on the contract, it's because you're not solving the problem. You're not doing your job. You're being lazy. When you do your job, the contracts, I promise you, they're the easiest thing. Contracts, you fly right through them. The offer is the solution, not a number. When you say, well, I gave them the offer. I told them 100, and they said no. Yeah, they don't want 100. Well, that's what I can pay. It doesn't matter. What's the solution that they need? What's the solution? What do they need? That's your offer. What does that look like? Instead of 100, you say, well, look, I'm going to stop the foreclosure, make sure that your credit doesn't get destroyed, what you were saying, that you don't want this thing to happen. We're going to make sure that doesn't happen. We're not going to get your credit trampled on. You're going to capture the equity that's in there. I'm going to put 30 grand in your pocket, and I'll take care of everything. That's the offer. Yeah, I love that. Cool. Here it is for 55 grand. Oh, I wanted 80. Did you like what I just said? Yeah. That's 55 grand. Oh, okay. And it really is that simple. But you got to explain it to them. Because sellers think that they probably need 80 to walk away with 30 and take care of all the issues. They don't know how to do the numbers. They don't know how to factor in the cost of all these things. You got to do it for them. I bought a house that was 144 and I bought it for 72 grand. I bought it for 72 grand because she thought she needed 144 to sell it and to get all the shit that she needed. When I gave her everything that she needed, she signed for 72 and she got everything that she needed. She just didn't need 144 for it. Are you guys seeing how it's not about the numbers? Sellers, when they give you numbers, they don't even know where those numbers come from. They're pulling it out of their ass. I promise you this. Oh, I got it appraised. No, you got a tax appraisal. It's not the same thing. You understand? That tax appraisal means jack shit. Go get a loan with that one. You understand? But they don't know this. So you got to figure out what is it that they need. Where's the struggle? Where's the pain? And the solution is how you present your offer. It's never cash. And if you can, never submit an offer over the phone. Because when you submit an offer over the phone, what's the go-to thing? Okay, cool, well, let me think about it. Now they start shopping that offer around, they start calling their realtor friends, they start calling all these things, and maybe other competitors. You understand? When you're there in person, offer, contract in hand. Let's go. I'm ready to close right now. Oh, well, I need to think about it. Okay, I guess I'm a little confused. I mean, because I came to buy the house. I thought you wanted to sell. Well, I do. So I guess what are we talking about? What do you not want to sell anymore? It's not, do you not like my offer? It's, do you not want to sell? Because if you wanted to sell, you're going to sign this. Let's talk about this. Most people are like, oh, I need to think about it. Okay, well, I'll check in with you in a few days. I'm there to get a contract. I am not leaving that house without a contract. That's my mindset. Now, I'm not, going to torture them for one, but the mindset is I don't want to leave without a contract. So I'm going to do everything I can to ask, push, persist. What's holding you back? What is it that maybe I didn't answer for you, right? What else can I ask? How else can I push to get you to sign this contract right here? Now, if they tell you, well, my husband needs to sign this, that's a mistake on you. You should have found that out on the call. Who else does this property affect? Oh, my husband. Oh, is he going to be there when I go? No, he gets out. Okay, I'll go at that time. Because that's a bullshit excuse. And you let that happen, you're losing. I promise you that. Because here's what's going to happen. The husband is going to come home. She's going to have these beautiful 9 or 11 or 13-page contract that the truck is, right, in front of her. And she's like, so we got to sign this. Well, what's this mean? I don't know. Well, why so low? I don't know. She's going to sell it for you. Good luck with that one. It's not going to be good, right? You want to do the closing. You want to do the selling. So you want to make sure all parties are involved. Now, a good little trick that I've done that's worked out pretty well the few times that I did it is I had the husband usually tells me this. Well, I got to wait for my wife to get home and all this. It's like, well, what do you think your wife would have an objection with? Oh, I mean, probably this thing. It's usually their objection. It's never their wife's objection. It's theirs, right? So, but it gives them a way to ask it without making it seem like it's theirs. So I overcome whatever it is, right? It's like, let's do this, look. Let's get it all filled out. Let's get it all done. And I'm just going to hold on to it. And when your wife gets home, you call me and you tell me, no, we changed our mind. And I'll rip it up. But this way, we have it ready. So if you call me, we're good to go. I'll send it over to title and get title going right away. So we can execute this and get this done as quickly as possible. The contract is signed. They do not call you back to tell you no. They just don't. They're already signed. That's it. They're already committed to you. Now, I'm not gonna hold it against them. Of course, I'm not gonna be like, sucker, you signed. Like, no. If they do call me and they're like, hey, listen, we changed our mind, all this, got it. I'll try to obviously save the deal, but I will rip up the contract. Again, I'm not here to steal people's houses, right? But having them commit to you is been 100%. They follow through afterwards. So it's a good little technique, and you give them an out. You call me later, and I'll rip it up. I'll rip it up. I'll rip it up right there on the phone with you. No commitment, no nothing. Don't worry about it. Yeah.
The Trent contract, would be 11 pages. Let me hear how you implement that versus a 1-page or 2-page contract.
Well, if I ever go against anybody that has a 1 or 2-page contract, I tell them, I'm like, I don't even think that's real. Because it's like, this is from Trek, from Texas, the board, This was made to protect both of us. That was made to protect whoever the hell is bringing that to you, not you. I'll destroy a 2-pager. And we use 2-pagers. I'm not saying that, but if you bring it to me, I'm going to destroy it, right? How do I get them to sign a TREC contract? That part is easy. I already solved their problem. So here's how I walk them through it. So this is us. We're the buyers, sellers. Here's your property address. That's the price that we're buying it for. Title company, initial here. Next page, standard stuff, initial. This is just saying, you know, what taxes, initial. Like, it's 5 minutes to sign the contract. They don't read shit. Like, do you want to read it? This is all standard. No, it's okay. Why? Because I told them it's a standard contract from TREC, from the Texas board. Like, it's not mine. I didn't make it. This is from them. They got their attorneys put this shit together to protect you and me. They don't argue with it. Plus, when it's all just words, most of those pages is just the nonsense from the contract, right? Like any of the valid points, like closing date, you know, all those things I'll point out. And you guide them, you know, this is a trick that's always worked, but like you take your pen and you guide them to what you want them to read and then initial. Guide them to what you want them to read and then initial. It's not hard. But again, I solved the problem. The contract is just a formality.
So don't get caught up in explaining that whole track.
No. I mean, I still don't understand the TREC. So, I mean, I couldn't get caught up on that shit. I'm going to sound like an idiot, you know? But like, no, they don't want to know the ins and outs of it. You understand? Like, they don't care. And we never call it contracts and we never call it agreements. We call it documents. We're going to get the documents filed so we can get over the title. Contracts and agreement make people feel like they need attorneys, somebody to oversee this, right? We make it too legit, right? Doing it that. But we're just going to get these docs signed just to get it over to title, open up title, and start working on this. So we can get you that outcome that we just talked about. Make sense? Again, right? Don't leave without a contract. When you understand the seller's need, the deal will follow. Every single time. And this is what we keep going back to, guys. Why most people suck at generating their own deals? They never take the time to understand the seller's need. They always make it about them. I need a deal. This needs to be a deal. I need to make at least 20 grand, 30 grand, whatever it is. I. No, focus on them. When you focus on the seller, you can actually give them the solution that they need. You can actually provide them with a contract that they're going to be able to be happy to sign with. And they feel it too. When you're asking them questions and you're connecting with them and you're offering them solution based on the shit that you heard them say that they needed, they're like, man, yeah, I want to go with you. The amount of sellers that are like, yeah, can you believe this guy called me and tried to offer me $20,000 over your offer? They're like, that has to be a scam. I'm like, yeah, that's a scam. You know, and it's because they felt more comfortable with me with the solution I provided. Make sense? So, first thing you're going to do is you got to create a good intro. What I teach people with marketing, pick a list, one list, and be the best at that list. We do 6 figures a month just on foreclosures in Bexar County. That's it. People are like, but foreclosures are so saturated. Not the way we do. Because what is everybody else doing? You want to sell your house for cash? That's not what we do. We don't ask those questions. So we crafted a really good intro for the list that we're marketing to. Where's this a challenge? When you have too many lists. It makes it impossible for you to specialize at any one. And I promise you, I've been at this for 12 years. I've spoken to literally every type of list out there: divorce, absentees, probates, pre-probates. And if I'm talking to a few like foreclosures and then a pre-probate comes up, I got to switch my whole frame of thinking just to talk to them, because if I'm as aggressive or as assertive with a pre-probate as I am with a foreclosure, I'll lose them. You can't be that aggressive with them, right? It's different levels that you got to handle this. This is why when people screw it up, is because they're doing too many things at once. And you specialize on nothing. And because we specialize in foreclosures, we can handle airship issues. We can handle problem with titles, liens, all these things because we know the foreclosure process. That's it. We know everything there is to know about delaying a foreclosure, prolonging a foreclosure, stopping a foreclosure, buying one. We know everything about it. We're really good at what we do. You understand? But because of that. And anybody else, there are markets in the US where foreclosures are not a good list to go after because they're like New York, Florida, they go through the courts, right? For a foreclosure. They got to go to a court, hearing, all that, and then they'll take the property. So it's like, it makes it hard where here they just go for the auction block first Tuesday of every month. Simple, right? But for these other markets, pick a list. Pre-probates, pre-foreclosures, pre-probates, probates, tax delinquents. Pick a list. Be the best at that list. Craft a killer intro. An intro is tested after speaking to 50 people. You've spoke to 50 people, it didn't go past, I would say 2 minutes, your intro sucks. The intro needs to create curiosity. If it creates curiosity, then you can get into the connection question. If you're telling me, well, I just can't get past 2 minutes, then it's probably not your intro, it's probably your connection questions, they're not good. Right? So that's why we ask better. You list out your discovery questions, your connection questions, you list them out. Like, what else could you be asking that's going to connect with these people? That's how a call goes from 2 minutes to 10 plus minutes. Then you're going to go into the handling any type of objections you always get. So foreclosures, they have a very common list of objections that we get. I already took care of it. Foreclosures, number one objection, I already took care of it. Oh my God, that's great. I'm so happy to hear that. Look, I help out a lot of people in foreclosures, and I'm always trying to look for new ways of helping them. Do you mind sharing how it is that you were able to take care of it?
Yeah, I didn't.
Oh, that's 80% of the time, right? It's like, oh, well, I'm gonna take care of it. Okay, I got you. And how are you gonna do that? I'm gonna reinstate the loan. Oh, so you do have the money? Yeah. Well, I don't. I'm gonna borrow it. Oh, well, that's great. You're gonna borrow the money from family? Yeah. You gotta love when family comes through, right? And being nice, very upbeat, everything. It's like, just out of curiosity, are they just giving you the money, or do you got to pay that back? Oh, I guess I got to pay it back. Oh. And you can afford the mortgage and paying them back for that loan? Then the conversation gets real. Because, again, most sellers don't think through anything that they're doing. They're thinking about right now, I just need to stop the foreclosure. That's all I need to do. I'm trying to take you to think past this. Think past the foreclosure. What's next? Can you even afford your house after you reinstate the loan? Well, actually, no, I can't. So then why throw more good money after bad? Why do that? It makes no sense. But again, that conversation went from I took care of it to we're already 5-10 minutes into this talking about it. You understand? Like, no is not an answer in real estate. In real life, don't get into any trouble. In real life, don't push your luck. But so I already took care of it. Or oh, we're doing a bankruptcy. A bankruptcy. Oh, so is that because you already have a way out on this? Well, what do you mean? Well, bankruptcy doesn't stop the foreclosure. You're just delaying it. The fees, the late payments, everything keeps stacking. And you got to pay for the bankruptcy as well. So I'm assuming you're delaying for a reason. Are you expecting a lot of money or something? Well, no, I'm trying to delay the foreclosure. Oh. Even you start creating a lot of doubt in them. There's a guy I follow, Jeremy Miner. I recommend you guys check him out. He gave terms to the things that I was like those expressions, and he calls it tonality. So it's not what you say, but how you say it. Right? If I could say oh or oh, not the same oh. It's oh, but it's not the same oh. right? It hits different, it lands different. When you emphasize certain terms, certain words, certain things that they're having in their conversation, like it means different things. You understand? They're like, oh, was this not a good idea? You know, because this guy made it seem like, you know, I didn't have a good idea.
And that's what happens when you focus on a particular list, you become an expert with those sound effects and so forth.
100%. 100%. You become any list, I promise you this, absentee, pre-probate, it doesn't matter. When you become really good, even an absentee list, you know, absentee list, like, no, why would I sell? I have a great renter and all this. Why do you think I ask them, would you like 17 years of cash flow right now? Right? Because those are things they've never thought about. But I have, because I'm trying to think what else can motivate these people. But can I do that when I'm also doing foreclosures, probates, pre-probates, tax delinquent, code violation, divorce, SEO, pay-per-clicks, Facebook? You know what I mean? Like, you can't. You're not going to be that quick on your feet. I promise you that. I'm pretty quick on my feet. I'm not that quick. Like, it's going to be hard for me to remember to ask those questions. And we do all of this, we do create lists. I teach everybody to get a whiteboard, put it wherever you make your calls or wherever you do your deals, put it right there and write these questions up. Don't leave it up to your brain. Have them, read them all the time until they just like burn in your skull of how you speak to these people. So that was talking to people. Now, pillar number 8. Is it good so far? Is helping? Good? I didn't know what I didn't know. So I'm really good on the phones. I'm really good with sellers. I can contract, I can close people. I've always been really good at that. But we still weren't making money. And what I decided to do was hire a coach. I met this guy in San Antonio. His name is Logan. And he does big deals in San Antonio. He was always doing big deals. I'm like, how the hell are you doing these big deals on these dumps? Like, they were shit properties, right? So I hired him. We paid him like 15 grand to sit down with him, right? He showed me that it was possible. When I saw that it was possible, I was like, that's it. We're changing our whole thing up. And that's when we started going more niche on our list. So with the right motivation, profits are limitless. You understand? Like, there's just no amount, like there's no deal that just can't make enough money. Like 6-figure months just became easy. Before, for us to hit like $100,000 wholesale or an $80,000 wholesale, it was like maybe once or twice a year. Right now, we're doing one almost every month. We're doing a deal that size. So you got to know your market. What we talked about before, not every market can you do pre-foreclosures in. Not every market does it make sense to do pre-foreclosures. During the pandemic, foreclosures weren't allowed, right? And you're like, well, yeah, duh, but there were still people trying to do foreclosures. It was stupid. But like, they weren't allowed. They shut them down, right? Nobody was foreclosing. So you got to know where your market is at. What is your market creating? What is the stress? What is the demand? What's your market doing? I teach you all the metrics, everything for you to understand your market. It's why we start with pillar number 1. If you don't know your market, you don't know where to market. You understand? I have some students in DFW, right? And they start, I'm like, where do you market to? DFW. I'm like, that's not an answer. Like, that's a big ass market. You get an appointment in Fort Worth, you're not freaking driving over there, I promise you that. Where are you marketing to? I don't know. Pick a county. Pick a county, understand your county, dominate that county. We do 6 figures in just Bexar County. That's it. Not Comal, not Guadalupe, not Bexar County. There's a lot of competition in Bexar County, sure. Not for us. Know your market. It's quality over quantity. That's the biggest thing we learn. It's not quantity. Everybody says, 60,000 properties a month. I knew a guy that's how many he markets to. 60,000 properties a month. It's not quantity. We do probably about 100 to 120 properties a month that we market to. Very manageable lists. All I need to speak to is 3 to 5 owners, and I got some good deals out of that. Because it's a very niche list. If I speak to 2, 3 owners, we're getting a deal. Because you're in some serious shit if I'm talking to you. Yeah.
How do you find quality if you're looking, because your list is foreclosure list, I imagine there's more than 120 a month. How do you determine which one's quality?
You got to buy the course. No. It goes back to pillar number 1, right? You know your market. So when you pull the data, you pull everything. We look at foreclosures that in San Antonio, the potential market value is less than 350, right? Because the median in San Antonio right now is dropping, but it's at 317, 316. That's the median. So anything under 350, we know is going to move quickly. We look for properties that have a deed of trust date 10 years or older. They have equity. So I don't look, bless you, I don't look for any foreclosures that the deed of trust is less than that, right? Unless I really know the area and it's probably like 5+ years, and I know that area really, boomed in that time frame, but 10 years is pretty much the rule of thumb. And actually, I think for Bexar County, we're at 12 years or older because we're getting too many at 10. Not too many deals, but too many properties. Oh, we're making so much money. No, I had to give some back, No, we went to 12 years or older, and we look for institutional lenders, like big banks. So no owner finance deals, nothing like that. Because big finance, big banks, big stuff like that, we could do subject twos, we could do creative deals, we can request payoffs, reinstatement, they'll give it to you. Owner finance people, other investors, we got to send demand letters, we got to threaten them for them to give us any information, right? So we minimize it that way. And then depending on the property, because we do single dial outreach for them, we'll see if it's like in a shitty area, like we'll just skip over it, right? And we'll go to the other ones that we know we want to be in. So then at that point, what hits our CRM is like about 100 properties a month.
You have CRM just kind of filters all this out for you?
No, we filter it all. Yeah, so we have a process that we follow that I've taught a VA how to do. So the VA goes in there, and every single day they're pulling the foreclosures. And it goes back to what I was telling you guys about, you gotta pick a list, right? Because when we picked foreclosures, here's how it goes, right? So foreclosures in Texas, 21 days before the auction date is when they're public. All that data is public. That's what everybody has access to it. What we started doing is like, okay, 21 days, got it. What's before that? Is there a way to get to it before the 21 days? And there is, right? It's when it gets posted the first time. Sometimes they get posted 2-3 months ahead of time from the actual auction date. So we went to that point. And then we were like, is there a point before that? And there is. But that's too early. They still feel like they got a tremendous amount of time. Some miracle is going to happen. So the sweet spot is when it gets posted. Not the 21 days. That's a sweet spot for us that we found out. Make sense? But why we found that out is because we specialize on that one list. So quality over quantity. If you're one of these people that you're telling me, oh, I do thousands of properties a month, I'm like, yeah, you're probably not making that much money because you can't. You can't go that hard. I know you can. I've done it. Solve bigger issues, earn bigger problems. This is the shit that you got to tattoo on your chest, right? But you need to look and solve for bigger problems. That's where the profit are. The profits are not in solving low-hanging fruit, basic little shit that people are going through. You got to solve the big issues. You got to solve the big problems. That's where the profit is. That's where the competition goes away. Because people can't solve the problems that we can solve. They can't chase down the 12 heirs or buy partial interest in a property. They can't do the shit that we do. You understand? I bought a house for $4,000 that was worth $120,000. Why? Because the 2 heirs that had it could care less about the house. I gave each of them $2,000 to sign over their interest. They were ecstatic to sign the interest over, as long as they didn't have to do any other paperwork. They met us at our office on the hood of their car, $2,000 a piece, signed over their interest to us. Father deed, we own the house. We've done that a lot of times. It's that simple. Why is it that simple? because we focus on solving big problems from one particular list. The framework is the niche list checklist is people that need to sell. I know it seems stupid, right, to even say that. People need to sell. If they don't need to sell, if somebody says, I would like to sell, that's not motivation. If you're like, yeah, they want to sell. No, want means nothing to me. They have to need to sell. What is the need? That's why we go after those types of lists, right? They're losing their home. The house is vacant. They're financial distress. What is the need that they have on this list? Then deadlines. So they need to sell. There's deadlines for closures, probates, tax sales. Anybody know what the deadline is on probates? 4 years. What we look with probates, what we look at most of the time is when somebody files for probate is because they're looking to do something with the property. Nobody files for probate just for shits and giggles. They file for probate because they're looking to do something with the property. What are they looking to do? There's a deadline there, right? They filed for a reason. What's that reason? What are they looking to do? Now, if they're looking to sell and the house is in bad conditions, the people live out of state, it's an emotional situation, all the parents' stuff is still in the house and they got to get rid of it, they don't know what to do, then they're going to need to sell to an investor. And if they need to sell to an investor, why not me? Right? And then combining it. And this is where we've also gotten a lot of great results, right? Multiple pain points, stacking a list, quality over quantity. Anybody understand kind of what list stacking is? It's pretty much what it says, right? Like you take multiple lists and you stack them to see which properties show up on multiple lists, okay? Again, find bigger problems to solve. So here's where, this is an exercise. Before we get to it, what I wanted to do is show you, like, we use a software, it's called REI Sift. REI Sift, I want to say it's about $100 a month, more or less, for that service. And I think that's up to like 25,000 records or something. And we use a combination of lists that we throw in there. And based on the combination of lists, REI Sift does it automatically, because I used to do it using Excel. Wow, that was a tedious process. It got to a point where I would upload a list and I would literally walk away, make some coffee, do something else while it processed, because it could not handle the volume. REI Sift for $100, it's a much better solution, okay? Sift. Yeah, REI-SIFT. REI Sift. So this is the exercise. What can you pull from your county? Why county? There are list providers like Deal Machine, PropStream, all of this, right? Cool, but everybody uses them. The more work you can do that other people are not willing to do, the less competition you're going to have. Why do we pull the foreclosures the way we pull them? Because not everybody pulls them the way we pull them. Most people wait for the 21 days before or for the list to be public somewhere. That's easy to pull. It's good, but I already spoke to those people before you got there, right? So what list can you pull from your county? Probate is usually a list you can pull from your county. Tax delinquents is a list you can pull from your county. Code violations is another list you can pull from your county. Divorce, evictions, these are lists that you can pull from your county. All right? The more lists you can pull from your county, the less competition you're going to have, the better chance of success. Because where those lists come first is to the county. Then it hits those services. So by the time, and I've compared them, that's why I do this, because like I've compared the probates from like Deal Machine or PropStream to the probates that I get, and they're fucking weeks late, and some of them months late. And it's like, I can't risk that. Like by the time you get to them, they're like, oh yeah, everybody's offering the same shit. And I'm like, well, yeah, I'm sure. You know, because, 15 other people have called you before I did. So now I'm battling with those things as well. So you want to make sure you're going straight to the source as much as possible. And those are frankly the only lists I go after is the ones that I can go straight to the source for. If a list is in Deal Machine or PropStream, I'm like, shit, that's not a list I'm going to go after. Because anybody with $100 a month can get that list. Make sense? Another provider that I've been using is foreclosuresdaily.com. Don't use them for foreclosures, oddly enough, but I use them for pre-probates. So what they do is they pull the list. It's very fresh, right? No pun intended, but like people died and they give you the list like that week of people that died that own real estate. And every single week you get the updated list for your county, every single week. And they do pre-probates, they do probates, they have a whole slew of things. But here's the thing, if they do them, that means that you could do it too. Because they do the same process you would do. They go online on the county website and scour the county website for these data points, right? So you can do them too. But the difference with them, I want to say $600 for 3 months of data. For me, that's not expensive for somebody that's pulling the data for me every single week. Foreclosuresdaily.com. And if you guys reach out to me, I'll put you in contact with the lady that I deal with. Her name is Tangi. She's great, sweetheart of a lady, speaks so fucking fast, but she's a great lady. Yeah.
Not to go back to foreclosures, but a lot of these people are not going to answer their phone. So what do you guys do to get there? Are you door knocking or are you doing something else?
No, just cold calling.
28 times a day?
No, 27. No. So there's a technique with cold calling that we've been doing too that helps our connection rate go up. And that is we do single dial, we use REI Simply, the CRM, so we upload the list and we have different phone numbers that we can call them from, right? But what we do is if I'm marketing in San Antonio, area code 210, then the phone numbers I buy are going to be from Austin, they're going to be from the Valley, they're not going to be from San Antonio. Because what happens is when people see a number from San Antonio, 210 number, that is not saved in their phones, they think it's spam. Make sense? So but when they see a number from Austin, who the hell is calling me from Austin? Right? Because that's the response that we get when they answer. They're like, oh, are you from Austin? Oh, I used to be, but I've been living in San Antonio for the last few years. It's a cell phone, people don't really change them. Oh yeah, that makes sense. That's it. But our connection rate went way up when we started using outside area codes that are close to the area, but they're not the area. So in St. Louis, I have some students that instead of using St. Louis, they've been using Illinois, that's like right there. They use that area code, and they're people that picked up, they're like, man, our answer rate went through the roof. I'm like, yeah. Because, and this goes back to the same thing as before. You're talking to a human being. And guess what? I don't know if you know this, but you're all human, right? So how do you think? How do you process shit, right? If a number calls me and it's a 210 number, I'm like, some dick is trying to spam me or something, right? Sales call. Because I know people in San Antonio, they should be on my phone, right? If you're not on my phone, I shouldn't know you. But all of a sudden, I get somebody from, McAllen, Houston, Austin calling me. I'm like, wonder who this is, because that's not normal, me getting a call from there. It's normal getting calls from 210 numbers. It's not normal getting a call from a Houston number.
I just assume they're all spam. I don't answer anybody.
Well, and then you're going to lose your house. You're going to lose your house, I promise you that. But does that make sense?
Yeah.
So that's how we've been doing it, but we go, again, and I know I'm beating a dead horse over here, but when you specialize, you can dominate the market because this is what we do. When people tell me cold calling doesn't work, I'm like, keep thinking that. I make way too much money off of this for it not to work. And you also avoid the lawsuits because we're not doing the volume these other wholesale companies are doing. Because again, I'm calling barely 100 people in a month. My team, they don't work that hard. Rob that does the calls, he does not work that hard. But he makes a lot of freaking money. Why? Because it's very niche. It's very targeted. And all he needs to do is get one person on the phone. And then he does what I taught you in Pillar 6. You get, especially with these niche lists, you got to be a killer on the phone because you get one shot. One opportunity to seize everything you ever wanted for one moment. But but you get that one shot with them on the phone, you got to go for it all. You got to have the technique, the skills, the questions, everything lined up. When you're bouncing from list to list to list, you're not going to have that. And I promise you, you won't. Because I've seen it way too many times. It's hard. It's very freaking hard. It's hard for me to do it. I've spoken to tens of thousands of people. And it's like, I bounce from list to list. I didn't ask half the questions. I'm like, damn it, you know you should have said this. I didn't.
Where do you get the phone numbers from?
So the CRM, the REI Simply, or RE-Simply? RE-Simply. Yeah, REI, yeah, see, they got to just pick something. But RE-Simply is the CRM I use, and you can buy the phone numbers there for $1 or $2, and you buy as many phone numbers as you want. And they record.
From the MLS.
What's that?
Forewarn?
Forewarn?
It's an agent app. It's free, and I get really good. I don't know. I get the numbers. I don't know. I'm successful. I'm getting a lot of phone numbers on there. I'm just
Okay.
curious where you get yours from.
No. So the phone numbers I used to call out, or the phone numbers I used to call? Oh, the skip trace numbers?
On Forewarn, yeah, that's on MLS.
Okay. Yeah, for skip tracing, we use Skip Genie. Deal Machine has actually been pretty good too. They use the same service that supposedly like the police uses for Deal Machine.
Deal Machine? That's the one that's the police use? Deal Machine?
No, the police doesn't use Deal Machine. The skip tracing service that Deal Machine uses is the one that the police uses.
Okay.
So their phone numbers, they have a database now of phone numbers and everything that you can use. Here's another thing, and we can maybe cut this out. Now, but like you have DNC numbers. Do not call. Here's the truth about DNC numbers. Cell phone companies have put the majority of the people on DNC lists. The people didn't put themselves there. The cell phone companies put them there. You understand? Most people do not know they're on a DNC list. So if you filter out your list by DNC, I promise you filter out all the cell phone numbers. You are not contacting a damn person.
Told my assistant to take that off.
Yeah?
That's what I tell.
And there's a new thing now with Apple phones and the carriers. If you call the first time and you've never called them before, that goes straight to voicemail. Like you'll go whoop, to voicemail.
Yeah.
Call right back.
Yeah.
It rings. So that's an Apple/carrier.
Yeah. Yeah, so you got to understand this with the carriers because a lot of times people are like I saw this happen to me when we used to filter DNC numbers, but it was like, I don't know, like 20% of the numbers would get filtered. And then it went to like 70% of the numbers got filtered. I'm like, whoa, hold on. I'm like, I know for a fact most people do not even know how to get on the DNC list because I've spoken to them. They have no idea. So I was like, what the hell just happened here? And it was the cell phone providers pushed everybody over. So, take it for what it is. It's just, I'm not giving legal advice. Okay, I'm not an attorney. I'm just saying like my experience has been that.
I'll tell you, I personally put myself on the DNC list, and it doesn't help with anything. No.
Yeah, well, you gave me your number, so don't complain.
The only regret we have is if you warn them once and then the second time you can get them to pay $400. You know, repercussions.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know he's taking report for that shit.
You have to be careful though, because there are people out there who are doing this for a living.
Mm-hmm.
And we're in a group of investors, and there's a couple people who've been sued for thousands of dollars.
Yep.
That, and then remote of the RVMs, right?
Yeah, and I don't know the group of investors you're in, but chances are, and don't tell them I said this, but they're probably idiots, that they got caught because they got caught, because the way that we do it, we filter our list so well that's like, it's somebody that's owned the property for 10 plus years. Here's their information. Like, it's very hard to come across somebody that's one of these litigators that are professionally going after people. Who are you getting caught with? Because you're hitting anybody and everybody an obnoxious amount of times every single day. So you're pissing people off. As soon as we get somebody that says, stop effing calling me, blah, blah, blah. Hey, I am so sorry. I apologize. I did not mean to ruin your day. You know, that was not my intention. I'm sorry again. I was just trying to help out. You know, obviously you don't need any help. And they're like, no, you people just keep calling. I completely, it's the first time I've ever done it, I'll be honest. But I promise you, you won't hear from me. And I blocked their number. No risk of ever getting sued. I don't need to chase that person down.
So it's, no, I'm not trying to give legal advice either, but I talked to an attorney about this in the past and said actually, if you're calling people like with your phone number or whatever, it's not, they can't sue you or anything over that. It's usually typically when you're using auto dialers.
Right.
I think DNC just applies to auto dial.
Yeah.
If you're
And usually those are the people that are getting sued. It's the people that they're doing, you know, thousands of calls every single day.
I was involved in several lawsuits because of this. I used to work for a mortgage servicer, so we would get sued occasionally. And usually when you get sued, it's when somebody would, you would get people and they did know what they're doing. And what they would do is, you know, they get a customer service rep on the phone and they'd say, don't call me again. And then the next time they get a call, they know that you know, they didn't put them on the list, and then they just let them call a bunch because you get tagged for every call, right? And so they let you call them for months, and then they go get the attorney, and then they sue you, and they've got documentation. And the thing is, we settle those things like that.
Exactly.
It's
Yeah.
I mean, they've got boom, 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 boom. You know, we just settle because
That's why like
you can't do anything.
what I'm teaching you guys, it keeps you out of that shit because you won't get there. You won't ever do that. Like with the foreclosures, that list recycles every month. I'm not going to be calling the same people. You understand? I'm not going to be calling the same properties. I don't get into that kind of trouble. And we do this all the time. I have, you know, I run a group. There's like 30 people in the group. They do it all the time too. But what's the difference is that we do it this way. We don't do the spammy way. We used to. I mean, we used to spam the shit out of people back when it was allowed. Well, like I said, we would contact 8,000 properties a day. Every single day, you know, like we were obnoxious. So, you know, stack motivations. Motivators, a good way to like understand how to stack this is start with a base. So I'll use a service like Deal Machine to pull all absentee owners in San Antonio. So we got a list right now of potential, I think it was like 120,000 absentee owners in San Antonio. So we pull those. There's still a criteria there. So we look for houses built 1978 or newer because that's what we kind of like to work with. Under 2,500 square feet, 78 or newer. What are we looking for? The market value of 400 or less. And we don't do market value, we do tax assessed value. Because market value based on these CRMs, it's like, I don't even know what the hell they're projecting. So we use tax assessed value and we pull the base list, right? Then we upload that base list to REI Sift. Then we'll pull tax delinquent list. We'll pull code violation list. We'll pull probate list. We'll pull the pre-probate list and we throw it in there. And then we see who's hitting multiple lists. And it'll be 13 people. Out of the 100,000 that we uploaded, 13 people. But those are 13 people that have a vacant house probably, that's pre-probate or probate, that's tax delinquent or a code violation. They got multiple pain points. One of the ones that we hit recently that it was a hell of a deal was on 5 lists. It was the only one on 5 lists. We spent some time finding that owner because it was worth the chase. We skip traced them right away, couldn't find shit. Mapped out the family tree, went to the heirs, started going boom, 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 until we found somebody. We got somebody, it was the heir, the person had passed away, they're the rightful heir, only heir, they wanted to get rid of the house. Done. He's like, it's weird, nobody's ever called me. I was like, well, nobody did the research we did. Like, you're not easy to find, you know, but why did we go after? Because they were on 5 lists, it was worth the chase. If they're on 3+ lists, we're doing the chase. And what we call that is spear fishing. right? You can cast a net, which is what most people do, and you'll pick up maybe some diapers and shit, right? Or you can spearfish, and you go specifically after that fish that you want. You understand? So when you nail it, you have information, education, resources. You're ready to close it. You're good to go. And that's how we do 50, 60, 70, $80,000 deals every single month. We don't need a dispo department because we close 3 to 4 deals a month. They're not hard to close. But we also do 6 figures on those 3 to 4 deals. It's not a hard business to run. It's not a business I need to spend 12 hours a day running. You understand? Like 2, 3 hours. That's about it. That's what I tell everybody. 2 to 3 hours focused correctly yields these results. So you put it together, find the list, find the need of the list, and be first. Being first, guys, I can't even stress that shit enough. You gotta be first as often as possible. Foreclosures, as soon as it gets posted, our process, so in San Antonio, what we figured out is every Thursday, they dump a ton of foreclosures that get posted, right? Every Thursday. So what we do is our people are ready. My VA is pulling. When she qualifies 5 properties, she is skip tracing, throwing it in the CRM. Rob is calling them. Why are we doing it that way? Because what typically is get posted on the foreclosure on Thursdays is 50 to 60 properties. By the time she sorts through them and qualifies 18 to 20 properties for us and skip tracing and upload them, Rob is calling them the next day. That's not first to lead. First to lead is the first 5 that qualify, you throw in the CRM. If we can at least hit 10 of the 20 that qualified that first day, we nailed it. We did great. Or anybody else gets to it. We're the only ones talking to these people before anybody else talks to them. Before they get jaded by all these calls. You understand? We do the same with probates, the same with pre-probates. First to lead matters. REI Sift has another really cool feature. I did say REI Sift. Yes. They have a really cool feature that on the first of every month, they update the list and tells you which properties are vacant. So as soon as a property goes vacant, and they're on multiple lists, we're calling them right away. Like we're contacting them right away because it's like, oh, a vacant house is a problem house.
But have you guys found that's accurate? Because I've checked that and they have been like not accurate at all. Like there are houses I know for a fact that are not vacant.
Well, it's based on their USPS,
Yeah.
so.
But it's like I got excited about that too.
But are they on multiple lists or just that one list?
I didn't go that far down the rabbit.
Okay.
Sorry, I said.
What's the list? Like you said, not too many people do go down that road.
Exactly. They don't.
That's where the value add is.
Yeah. I have a partner in St. Louis that he does pre-probates, right? And the lists were big. And he's like, man, I can't get to all of them. I was like, don't. Upload them to REI Sift, see which ones are vacant. Hit those. That list was a lot smaller. Much easier to hit, you know? And because it's much easier to hit, you can hit it multiple times different ways. So it makes you that much more effective. Now, again, I know a lot of shit was covered. We talked about a lot of things. We went over everything. We're going to get into Q&A now. But I'm putting this up that you guys can schedule a strategy call with me. We'll go over your business specifically and talk about like what needs to work, what strategies can you implement, what your market is doing. We'll put a plan in place that's going to help you kind of kick it off and get it going the right way, and answer any questions and anything that you may have. But with that being said, I'm done. So what questions do you guys have? Any other questions?
Curiosity on your client that you had to kind of search for and find. Tell me how. I know after you had all the conversation with her, she's an heir. How was the price determined? Like, how did that part of the conversation sound?
So here's how we determine prices a lot.
Well, because she wanted to get rid of it, right? So
The one that I gave $2,000?
No, the other one you said it was 3 people and you had to kind of go through several.
The spearfishing one? Which one? That one?
Yeah.
On 5 lists.
Oh, that one. What was the question?
And
What
that
happened?
person was the heir. So I'm just trying to figure out, like, she doesn't want
No, it threw me off because it was a he, not a she. That's why I was like, I was like, wait, I didn't deal with it.
I'm just trying to figure out, like, when it came to giving her a price, or did you let her determine it? Because I know sometimes.
No. No, I didn't let them determine it because he had no idea. He just wanted to be done with the property.
Okay.
He just wanted to be done and everything. And it's like, and with them, what was it? We gave them, it was the same thing. I think we gave him like maybe $5,000. And he gave us, he signed over his interest just for us to handle the whole process and everything that was going on.
I think she's getting at it. Like, you just ask them what they need. What do you need to get out of this?
Yeah, yeah, because when they're so messy, they don't even know what they need. They're like, I just don't want to deal with this. When they give us that answer, that's when we buy their interest. I'll give you $500 right now for you to just sign this simple document. You're no longer attached to this. Don't even worry about it. We'll take it over. And that's it. That is not a strategy I recommend everybody do. It is an advanced strategy because you got to have the money. Okay? Buying people's interests, yes, it sounds amazing, but it's very risky if you don't know what the hell you're doing. Okay? So don't get too comfortable with the buying interest part. Like, try to, you can partner with somebody that understands the process and how to do it. I recommend that highly. But don't try to do that shit yourself because it's like I said, it can get very messy. And we know how to run a lot of title searches, a lot of stuff to see what's worth it with the property. To make sure there's enough equity that's worth us putting up the capital and buying it. Make sense? So, but in determining values, what we look at when we need to come up with a value or something, we look at as is value. So what is the as is of this house? Not ARV, not repairs. I don't care about those numbers. I look at as is value. If I was to take this house, put it on the MLS right now, exactly how it sits, what would it sell for? Well, as is, it would sell for 120. Great. I'm gonna push it out to my buyers at probably 110, 115. Because my buyers, they would buy a house like that for 120 on the MLS. I'm giving it to them at a discount. Where do I need to contract that? 30, 40 grand less than that. That's my numbers. No comps, no ARVs, no repairs, none of that shit, right? And I always start less than whatever I want to settle at because everybody likes to haggle and negotiate and everything. So we let them negotiate, but we will start lower than that. And that's all the numbers, all the math, everything that we do.
So you're just going with your best and final?
No. I say I start lower than that.
So then they work out to
Yeah. So let's say I would finish off at 80, right? I would start probably like 67. And when they're like, oh, I can't do 67, and they're like at 100, I'm like, well, if I can crunch some numbers, maybe come up to 68. Like that's my jump, not $5,000. They go from 100 to 90. I'm like, I don't know, 68.5 maybe. They'll come down to like 85. Like they make massive drops. I don't. And then here's a trick if you're wholesaling. If you're wholesaling, you set your price high too, because your buyers will surprise you what they're willing to pay for a house. But if you set exactly what you want, most chances are that your buyer is going to come in lower than that, right? And $5,000 will never kill a deal. If you're at 115 and your buyer's at 110, they'll buy it for 115 too. If $5,000 kills a deal for a buyer, they have bigger problems. $5,000 should not kill a deal for a buyer. You understand? So like most of the time when it's $5,000, stick to your guns. You'll get them. But when it's more than that, 10 grand, shit like that, okay. But I start higher, the same thing. Because my buyers, again, they're VIP buyers. They're people that are buying off the MLS. Well, this was the previous class, right? So like, they're buyers that I have that they either buy from the MLS or from other wholesalers. It's the only option they got, right? So you want this deal? This is the numbers. Now, when I shoot too high with a buyer, they're like, no, I'm not interested. What would you be interested at? That question, not many wholesalers ask. Blows my mind. Why wouldn't you ask? You'd be surprised when you say, hey, I want 120 for the house. Oh, I can't do that. Well, what could you do? I can maybe do 115 or 112. All right, dick, like say it. You know, I can come down. You know what I'm saying? But like, if you don't ask, they don't volunteer, and then you pass up on the deal. Yeah. Because they think, oh, 120, you're probably going to be able to find somebody for that. But maybe I don't want to be hunting around. Maybe I have $40,000 spread here, and I'll take a $10,000 drop and get it sold right now. Let's go. That's the good thing when you have high margin deals, you can move faster, right? When you're doing a $15,000 wholesale, $10,000 drop hurts. When you're doing a $50,000 wholesale, $10,000 drop, okay. I moved it quick. I didn't waste any time. Same with flips. Our flips, John used to be at our projects every single day managing contractors. Now he'll go to a project maybe twice. Why? You didn't make 90, you made 82. Whoop-de-doo. I'm so depressed. It gets easier, guys. It gets easier when you have the margins. This business is stressful when you're penny pinching everything you do. You understand? Stop penny pinching. It's not worth it.
Good question. On the list refinement, so in the past I've built my list out of just real list, like with my own criteria. I brought it in. So you can take that list into this REI Sift and then search it by probates, violations.
No. You gotta. So REI Sift essentially is a list stacking software.
Okay.
So you got to get the lists, upload all the lists, and then it will stack them and tell you which one is showing up on multiple lists.
But you've got to do that
within REI Sift.
So you can't import something.
Yeah.
I could
You import the lists into REI Sift.
Can I import my own list?
Yeah.
And then it's stacked.
Correct.
All right.
They don't provide lists.
Oh.
You provide the list.
I bring on the list.
Yeah.
Oh, I
They
see.
just have the software that takes everything together and tells you, hey, this one's showing up here, here, and here.
Okay, perfect.
You just tag everything you upload, and then you can sort by
Cool.
by all that in there.
Awesome.
It's actually quite involved.
Yeah.
No, but it's worth it.
Yeah, it's definitely worth it. But we go back to the same thing. It's quite involved, which is why a lot of people don't do it. It's an extra step, which is why people don't do it. I look for the things that are that much more complicated because my competition goes to nothing. The more complicated the shit is, the harder it is to find somebody, the less people that are going to be doing it. Make sense? And when you get these kind of lists that you're going after a seller that has that much potential equity, go above and beyond when you're working with the seller. So I have a student, he's like, hey, I finally got the appointment set with this one seller. I was like, when is it? He's like, tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. is the best he can do. I was like, text him the night before, be like, hey, I'm gonna swing by for some coffee. What's your favorite coffee? And show up with a cup of coffee. It costs you $5. It means the fucking world to them. It takes you nothing to go a little bit above everybody else, and you stand out that much more. Who here has ever done that shit? Oh, you're smart. But you've been doing this for a while,
Yeah.
right?
But it really pays. It really pays. And now that I don't go to appointments anymore because we have guys who are doing it for us, I still go and meet the seller after we sign
Nice.
because then the deal goes a lot more smoothly on the back end.
Well, what's funny too, after you sign, what I've seen a lot of wholesalers do is they pretty much ghost the seller. They got the contract and they're like, I'm not even going to bring anything up in case they change their mind. Like they're scared of the seller. I'm like, no, it's the other way. You want to over communicate after you contract with them. You want to make them feel safe, like you're still there, like they weren't just another transaction. And we show up to the closing with them. We meet them at closing, and that's when we get testimonials. Testimonials are tremendous, tremendous. We've been getting a lot of deals lately just because they're like, well, that's what everybody, this so-and-so promised the same thing too. Well, look, here's the contract that we just, property that we just helped a homeowner at recently. Look what they said about us. Nobody else is doing that shit. Nobody's showing them a video testimonial of another seller saying, they saved me from losing my house. Their help was tremendous. Nobody's doing that. We're the only ones showing them our own reviews, our own testimonials from people. Any little thing that you can outdo from somebody else sets you apart. I've showed up to properties with breakfast tacos, right? What does it cost? $10? Man, they loved me after that. $10 to make 40 grand. I'll do it.
It's a write-off anyway.
Huh?
It's a write-off anyway.
Yeah, $10 is really some tax savings right there. But yeah, I mean,
$3.
yeah.
It adds up.
But you get what I'm saying? Like, look for those things that you can do a little bit more than anybody else, and it goes a long way over everybody else. My people, like, like I always tell them, I was like, if it's you against somebody else, you better win every day. That's it. If it's you against the market, then yeah, that sucks.
Are
So,
you helping them find another house? Or
who?
the people, the sellers?
The in foreclosure and stuff?
Yeah.
A lot of them, believe it or not, they always have another place to go to, usually lined up. But if they need to, we'll put them in contact with like an apartment locator, because typically they're not buying another house. You know, like their credit's gotten, you know, trimbled.
Too, so most of these people, it's like probably inherited homes.
Yeah. Our biggest wholesales, or biggest deals, period, are people that like they're in foreclosure and they've inherited the home and all that. And usually people can't close them because they're not emotionally attached to the home. But you can get them emotionally attached to the money. You know, and a lot of these people, believe it or not, like they don't come from a lot of means. You're telling them, hey, I can put like 10 grand in your pocket. It's like, what? Yeah. And especially now, guys, coming into the holiday season, that money is a killer. And here's what's the best part. 2 times a year is when we get the bulk of the deals done. July and August, and then again in December, January. Those are the 2 times investors check out. They're too tired. They take vacations. So while they're taking vacations, we start the year usually with most of the revenue we're going to make for the year, because we close that many deals during those 2 months every single year without fail. So if you're like struggling, you want to close deals, fucking you work those months. Yeah.
One of the questions we get a lot, maybe someone else has it in their list. What if you're gonna offer 100, right, and the customers are like 250, and it's clearly unrealistic, and there's gonna be some wholesaler comes in at 140, right, which is $40,000 more than the real price. How do you handle I'm at 250 and, I'm sorry, you're at 100 and the customer's at 250, what do you do then?
What I've been doing with people they're like, well, I want 250, and it's like, well, let me ask you something. Could you help me understand how you got there? Because I'm never that far off on numbers, and I cannot seem to get that high. I would love to pay you 250. Trust me, I really will. Am I missing something? Is there a property that I'm not seeing? Get them to validate why they got the 250. And most of the time it's complete bullshit, right? But then they're like, oh, that's just what I want. You know, but then we go back to the same thing. If you started it right, you're getting what they need, not what they want, right? Because we're not in the business of giving people what they want. I'm not, Santa Claus. Like, I'm here to help what you need, and this is why you're in a distress situation, right? If you're in that much distress, I can help you. If you're not in distress and you can wait all day long to get the 250, then list it. And I would even say, like, let's say absentee, I want 250. Oh, I can't come anywhere near that. Have you considered listing it? That would be your best bet. And then I want them convincing me why they don't want to list. I don't want to deal with an agent, the fees, this. Yeah, I get it. But I mean, that 250, that's kind of retail. I mean, it wouldn't make sense for me. Then they start dropping their price. And then we do a math close with a lot of people when they're like, let's say ARV's 250, and they're like, well, I want 200. And maybe, we're not too far apart, right? It's like, well, 200, yeah, that's more like retail. So if we take 200, you got 10% agent fees, closing costs, everything, that brings you at 180. You're probably gonna have to do some make ready, all this thing. Let's call it another, like 15 grand. And I start dropping. And it's like, so if you list it, maybe you walk away with like 140. I'm offering you 120. Like, we're not that far. And you don't have to do anything with me. You're done right now. And then now we're not negotiating, 80 grand. We're negotiating 20 grand. It's a much closer number to close the gap on. right? So we'll play that game too with them to bring down their number. Make sense? Thank you. Everybody good?
Yeah, and your assets value, how do you determine, is that based on the MLS?
Yeah, I'll look for what's listed, currently listed, because that would be your competition, right? If you were to take this house, put it on the market, based on the competition around, what do you need to price it for it to sell right now?
But how about if there's nothing like a house that you're looking that needs work, there's nothing on that that's selling, assets on that area?
If there's nothing in the area that's selling, go wider.
Go wider?
Yeah, go wider, see what else is available. And then you will have to get to, if you do, you're in the last class, right? So if you do pillar number 1, you're going to be out of those areas because you're in areas with high demand. When there's high demand, there's going to be high supply, there's going to be plenty of comparables. When you're in an area that you can't find comparables, you're probably in an area you shouldn't be in, right? And at that point, when I'm like South San Antonio, right? You got Elmendorf, that whole area. I get a property in that area, my offers are coming in at the bottom floor. Why? Because there's no damn comps in those areas. Like properties are just, what are they worth? Whatever some hillbilly wants to pay for them, right? So it's like, I'll start at 15, 20 grand. I want 150. Oh, good. You know, good luck with that. I'm not going to chase you down, right? But I don't make an effort on those properties. The ones I make an effort are in my market, the areas I want. And I know those areas. It's gotten to a point where it's like, I don't need to run comps. I know what the values are. I know those areas so well.
Know your market.
Know your market. And it's just that, man. Like, it gets to a point where it's like, I get a property where they're like, yeah, I'm thinking 120. And I know the area. I'm like, fuck, you can I go right now? You know, because I know that I can move those properties. I know the demand. I know what my buyers want. I know what I want, right? I get a property in an area where they're just throwing a very reasonable number. I know I'm going to get a hell of a deal.
Why did you pick Bayer County over like Harris or Travis?
I lived there. I was living.
You already knew it.
Yeah, it was well, I picked it when I moved from New York. I picked San Antonio over Dallas and Austin because it was just Dallas and Austin were really hot markets. San Antonio wasn't. So it gave me a chance to get my footing and figure it out. And I knew it was very affordable, so I was like, it's going to pick up just like the other ones. So it gave me a chance to catch up. And I believe firmly in investing in your backyard.
You had to pick somewhere else to go now to kind of start this up again. Is there a county you have in mind?
In Texas?
Anywhere?
Well, I'm in Tennessee now. I'm in Chattanooga. I like St. Louis. I have a partner up there. We're doing very well there. You're buying cash flow and rentals off the MLS. So when we go off market, we get better deals. Over there, our average wholesale is 55 grand. So it's much higher profit margin because of that. And I'm in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and that market has been, it's also, because it didn't hit the booms that Texas hit, so it's got a lot of growth ahead of it, and it's not disproportionate from value to rental income like San Antonio is. Like San Antonio, to get properties to cash flow, you got to do what we do. We can get $1,000 a month cash flow because we generate our deals. But that also means I got to leave $90,000 in equity tied up.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, I'd rather use the 90 grand right now. But if you're picking up rentals, leave the 90 in there. What do you care? You get $1,000 cash flow and a shit ton of equity. Like, you're killing it. You'll get a very favorable rate, very favorable loans. You're going to do very well for that, right? Bayer County is still a strong market, which is why we're in it. Even though I'm in Tennessee, our whole business is still in San Antonio because it's still affordable. Based on all the other markets, still affordable. Make sense?
Yeah.
So, and that's what I taught earlier. It was pillar number 1, which is the market insight. And if you got the PDF, it's all the stuff that's in there. It's, you got to know your market. It's not about your feelings or emotions. It's about the market data, about the information. The data is going to tell you where you need to be. And I don't look for hot markets. I look for markets that have movement, that are in an upward trend, that have people moving to it. Texas is a market that's fucking growing, right? So Tennessee is another market that's been growing, which is why I'm moving there. It's not growing as violently as Texas has been, but it's growing. You want that positive trajectory. Yeah, make sense?
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. What?
So Roswell, New Mexico is kind of going the other way.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Roswell.
There was a deal that was looking at a year ago now, right? Yeah. They were, like you said, yeah, good luck with that.
Yeah, no, you gotta still follow the trends and the data in the market. Like, where are people going? And this is why, like, so many people lost their ass on multifamily. They got so hot and bothered because there was so much stupid money going after it that they were like, oh yeah, just buy more multi. And now everybody's like, ouch, right? Because it's like you're still not following the fundamentals. Like, yeah, it's multifamily, but it still needs to make sense. Like, it's not, well, once we do all of these things, then it's gonna make sense. It's like, no. What? No, it's not how real estate goes. You don't make money on the sell, right? Like, it's, oh, it sucks now, but hopefully the market pulls me out. Like, okay. But yeah, I mean, I'm always available. You guys ever have questions, anything, I'm all over the place. Reach out. You know, I'm always here to help. Whatever I can do. I'll be here this weekend, so. Cool. All right, guys. Thank you. Appreciate it.